Would you like to debate?
Oh, no, yeah.
Well, yeah. Oh, do you mind if we let me finish my debate? Let me finish my interview with him, and then we'll debate if you like. Yeah, come and stand here and we'll debate. Come and we'll stand here and we'll debate. Come and we'll stand here and we'll debate. Okay.
Let me go around a bit.
Okay.
Get a bit more space.
Yeah, so carry on, Bob, and I'll put a microphone on this gentleman in a minute.
Right.
Carry on.
Can you just give some examples of who they've targeted?
Yeah, so for example, there's been members of the public that have been arrested for nasty tweets.
Yeah.
However,
Inciting violence.
no, arrested for nasty tweets.
Inciting violence
Right?
is what.
What did Nick Lowells do when he spread information that led to a Muslim mob going around with machetes and knives? Wasn't that inciting violence?
Was anyone attacked? Who I don't know.
Hold on one second. What was that inciting violence?
I don't know the details of the case.
They exactly, you don't. So here you are. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. You're saying you don't know the facts, but then you're trying to. Yeah, exactly. You don't know the facts. Thank you very much.
That's not about the thing that you were talking
Thank you.
about.
So let me tell you what the facts are. So for instance, there are some people that were arrested for shouting at and swearing at the police and holding up placards saying whatever.
Who?
They were part of the crowd of which a small minority were involved in violence, and they've been sentenced to years in prison.
Who's arrested
Right?
for not being violent?
Right? No, wait. Do we need names?
Yeah, just
Right.
examples of anyone that was actually arrested for political speech.
Yeah, right. We can
wasn't
find it.
inciting violence.
Does anyone know? No. Well, yeah. Tommy Robinson would be an example, actually. Yeah. Can you show me where Tommy Robinson incited violence?
Multiple examples of him.
Go on, give me one.
I can't.
Oh wait, I can't. He says Tommy Robinson incited violence. I asked him for one example and he can't give me one. Not one. Get out your one second. Get out your phone. Google. No, wait. Get out your phone. Google where Tommy Robinson incited violence. Give us an example. Come on.
Okay, can you give an example?
No.
I'm questioning you
No.
first. You
No. This is a two-way conversation.
I know, but you've not answered any of my questions.
I have.
asked, who's been
Right.
arrested?
Has
anyone been arrested?
Tommy Robinson.
No, has anyone been
Tommy
arrested?
Robinson.
Okay, anyone
Tommy
during the riots?
Robinson.
Anyone during the riots?
Tommy Robinson.
Who during the riots was arrested?
Right, hold on. So now he asked for an example. One second. Sister, please. Wait, let's do. Peter Lynch.
He was arrested
For what?
for inciting violence and he died in prison.
What? But did he incite violence, or was he the guy that was just shouting at the
I'm
police?
giving you an example. He asked
Right.
for an example.
Okay. So. Wait, one second. Right, Tommy, wait 1 second. We're not changing the topic.
But Tommy Robinson wasn't.
You're
at the one
jumping
at the
around
riots.
in the
I'm not.
1 second. The reason
Who's arrested at the
your
riots?
your
That was the
question.
exact
1
question.
second.
Tommy
You're
Robinson's
changing
name.
your question.
I'm not. That was the question I asked.
Here's the question you asked.
Who's arrested at
Here's
the
the
riots?
question you asked.
Speech, yeah.
The very question you asked is, give me an example of someone who was arrested for political speech.
During the riots. During
No,
that
you
period
didn't
of the
say
riots.
that.
I
You
believe
didn't
was
say that.
You
You
repeated
said,
that.
and
That
we
was
said
what I
Tommy Robinson,
I said during-
and then you said for inciting violence.
Yes.
And then we asked you for one example where Tommy
An
Robinson
example.
incited
But I wasn't
violence,
talking about Tommy
and you
Robinson.
can't. Oh right. So we gave him an example. But because he can't back
Can you
up,
show me a video of Tommy
because
Robinson
he can't
after-
back
Where
up,
was Tommy Robinson
because he
in
can't back up the point that he made,
Where was
because
Tommy
he
Robinson?
can't
He was
back
in
up the
Spain.
point that he made.
Tommy Robinson wasn't in the UK.
Right,
he was in
so
Spain.
you're running.
So
you
who's-
want now.
I've
Are
just
you
got one
denying?
question.
Oh, wait a second. Are you denying that some people have been thrown in prison for shouting at police officers, but not participating in violence? That there was a riot, but some people were arrested just for shouting at police
If
officers.
during a riot in which people have set
Are you
set
denying
alight
that?
the hotel,
No.
if you're part of that crowd,
Are
and
you
you're chatting
denying
about
that?
crowd,
Are you denying that? Are you denying that?
Repeat your question.
So what you're saying is they're guilty by association.
I'd say if you were part of a mob and that mob set to light a
All
hotel
of
full
them.
of people. No, not everyone.
All of them.
Because all of them went arrested.
No, there we go.
Were all of them arrested?
Thank you.
But I didn't say that.
Thank you.
Were all of
So
them
we've
arrested?
established the principle. We've established the principle that you're not guilty by association. So what about the man that was arrested not because he tried to burn down a hotel, not because he used any violence, but just because he swore at police officers and shouted? What about him? What about him? You don't
I
know.
think you're part of a crowd, and if you're targeting police, swearing at police, and people are attacking police, I think that is inciting.
Right. So what about?
Attacking police, attacking police,
What
and being part of a
about?
mob that's swearing
Do
and
you
shouting at police, I that is
do
inciting
you
violence.
think it is a criminal offence to walk around the streets of England with a machete? Do you? Do you think people should be arrested for walking the streets with machetes?
Yes.
Right. Can you name? What about attacking police officers and
You
beating
still
them?
not give me an example of someone who was arrested purely for speaking.
Right. I will give you. He wants a name. I will. He wants a name. He wants a name. He wants a name. We'll find a name. Could someone, while we're talking, find the name of the gentleman that was arrested, thrown in prison, and his only offence was he swore at the police, he shouted at police, and Peter Lynch. Okay, it was Peter Lynch. Right. So we've got a name, Peter Lynch.
I think that is a critical example of inciting violence. If you're part of a crowd that attacks police, sets hotels on fire, burns down businesses, burns down libraries, I think that is a credible example.
Great.
Of inciting
Right.
violence.
One second. Wait, sister, please, sister.
I know.
Let me have a conversation with him.
I think we all saw
You've got
videos.
to.
We all saw
The thing
videos
is,
of people set
the thing is, right. He's just using the lady not to interact in the debate. So I'll wait until they're done.
What about the police?
They arrested
the
people.
police in Manchester?
Yeah. About what? To do with who?
What about? So here's the point, bro. Right? You're saying it is legitimate to throw a man in prison for years who merely shouted at police officers. Do you therefore call for the arrest of that entire Muslim mob who marched through the streets of Birmingham with machetes and knives? Do you call for their arrest?
If someone is in public with a machete,
Do you call for their arrest? Yes, brilliant. Okay, good. Give him a round of applause. So, wait. Sister, please. Let's boil a fish slowly. Sister, please. Right, now let's ask him this. Do you believe that the two Muslims who battered those police officers should also be now in prison and arrested?
assaulted a police officer.
Brilliant, great. Great, give him a round of applause. Now explain to me why. Explain this. Why are the two people that beat the police officers not in prison? Why are the Muslim mob that walked around with the machetes not in prison? Why is Nick Lowell's, who lied about an acid attack that incited a mob to walk around with machetes, not in prison? Why is a Labour councillor that called for the slitting of throats and the slitting of throats of people, why is he not in prison? Go and explain that. Go on. Is that the same as going to
Was the Labour
court?
MP not suspended?
That's not the question.
Well, he was.
No, that's not the question. Why are they not in prison?
Bob, can I do a correction? An error you just made.
Go on.
Ricky Jones is on remand, and he's the one for court for that, and his trial starts on the 5th.
Right,
He's
so
on remand.
Right.
Going through trial, yes. So he was.
And how quickly did they prosecute the other side?
Very quickly, within a day.
Go on,
The example that
explain.
you've just used, that guy's in court.
All right, but the point is, we're talking about a two-tier police system and a two-tier judiciary system. You asked for examples, I've now given you multiple examples. Explain to me how it's not two-tier policing and how it's not two-tier judiciary.
I don't think there's an example of people arrested during the summer riots who were arrested not rightfully. The only person that you gave as an example was someone who was in a crowd swearing and shouting at police, during which violence was carried out against those police officers. I think that is a valid reason for arrest.
But you haven't addressed the fact that a mob of Muslims walked through the streets with machetes and knives, and not one of them was arrested.
Not one of them.
Not one of them.
But okay, so some people may not have been arrested.
Is that fair?
But I think there was other people.
Is that fair?
No, that's not fair. But I
Thank you. Right.
Can I finish my sentence?
Wait.
Can I finish my sentence?
Thank you. It's
Can I
not
finish my
fair, but he's
sentence?
going to justify the unfairness. Go on.
I'm
Justify the
saying
unfairness.
there's multiple examples of unfairness. Also, unfairness would be some of the people who went arrested during the summer. I think there's people who are arrested as a reaction.
Give us an example.
I cannot name every single protest of the thousands of people.
But you demanded a name from me, and you give me one. Give me one example.
Anybody who's
Give me one.
Okay, so are you saying that every single person that was out in the summer protest was arrested? No, they weren't.
No, we're not saying
Right.
that.
So I'm saying people.
Do you think they should all be arrested?
No, of course not all of them.
On
I
what
think there was
basis do you
multiple
make the
people.
distinction?
People who incited and carried out violence against police.
People
and
who
members of the public.
incited and carried out violence. How is swearing at a police officer inciting violence?
If there is a mob and people are throwing things at police, lighting things on fire, setting buildings on fire, if you're part of that mob at the front, swearing at police officers and being a part of a crowd that is attacking them, in that moment, if you've been told to space, if you're then still going, that is definitely inciting violence.
Right, no it isn't. No it isn't.
Right, so if I went
No,
up,
it isn't.
So if I went up to
No,
those
it
police
isn't.
officers over there, if I got bricks and started throwing it at them, and you were next to me swearing at them, shouting at them, you would say that you're completely...
Right.
Yeah.
1 second. 1 second. You see, the thing is, right, he is trying to justify an enforcement of the law against the summer working class white rioters, whilst wanting not to address the fact that we had a Muslim mob walking through the streets with machetes. What about the Muslim mob who, after the two Muslims assaulted the police officers, gathered outside the police station in Manchester, threatened the police officers in Manchester, threw instruments, eggs at the police station? Should they also be arrested? Right. Can you explain why they have not been arrested?
I can't tell you every single
You can't
case.
tell
Every
me.
single case.
Is it
But
fair?
I think the broad point that
Is
people
it
who
fair?
were arrested during the summer riots deserve to be arrested.
Is it fair?
No, I think there's lots of unfairness in the justice system
Thank
in
you.
every area.
Great. So the
Just because
initial.
one instance happens on a site
Great.
that you disagree
So
with,
now,
it doesn't mean that it's-
there's hundreds of innocent people in prison right now.
there's
Hundreds of innocent people. Hundreds of innocent people. Right, so now we've established that we have identified unfairness. Is it another name to call something that is unfair two-tier? Is that a fair synonym? No, it's not.
I wouldn't suggest
No,
that
it's
there's been
not.
multiple instances of unfairness throughout the justice system. If some instances in certain areas aren't carried out the way they should have been, but if
Right.
that just doesn't happen in another area,
And what
it doesn't
happens-
necessarily mean that two different groups are...
And
So, but-
1 second. What happens if we can identify a
friends-
pattern based on the groups of people?
But you're going after this thing about white working class people. Do you not think that in the way that the rioters during 2011 were treated, they weren't white? The majority of those rioters, or a lot of them even, weren't white, but they were treated more harsh than they were this gone summer. They kept the courts open all night. They
They did that now?
They did it, but not to the same extent they did then.
No, they did it the same.
Not to the same extent.
No,
that they
they've done
did
it
then.
the same.
But, so I don't understand why you're focusing on the fact that they're white and they're from certain areas.
Right,
When
here's
what
why.
happened in London.
Here's
the
why.
majority of that-
Here's why. It's a fair
So
question.
what I think is,
Here's
when
why.
Can I finish just
Yeah, go
the
on.
point? I think when we have these instances of mass riot, the burning of buildings, town squares, areas of cities that you can't go, I think those instances in the height of, because of the disorder and the chaos that is created, I think that those instances are cracked down on much harder. And sometimes there may be cases of unfairness in that. Sometimes people may be grouped together. But I think once that happens, and if you get involved in that, I don't think you can go crying injustice when you've been part of that mob that is inciting such thing. In the same way in 2011, there was people who were like 16, 17, they just went out, part of mobs, and many of them are still in prison. They were put in prison for multiple years. So I think it's extraordinary circumstances that can occasionally...
Can I reply now?
And that's just how I view it.
Can I reply?
Yes.
So here's the problem. It is unfair when at the same time, during the same series of events, different groups are policed differently and the judiciary is applied differently. The whole point at which you interrupted the interview that I was having with Street Mike was when I was talking about... Yeah, you did. You interrupted. an interview that I was having with Street Mike. That's
I didn't
fine.
realise it was an interview. I thought
That's
you were just
fine,
speaking.
bro.
I
You're
thought
here
you
now.
were-
Now we're here now. But the point is that the point at which you interrupted was the point at which I was saying that our political institutions have been captured for political ends. And one of the ways that we can see and we can discern that it has been captured for political ends is when the same crimes are being treated differently. We had a mob of Muslims carrying machetes and knives, and they were never tackled by the police.
No, they
We had a
ran
mob.
away.
We had a mob of Muslims assaulting a police station and threatening violence against the police in Manchester. There were no arrests. And so when we see the same behaviour being policed and prosecuted and punished differently, it is fair to ask the question, why? And why do you think that Muslims, who most of whom vote Labour, have not been policed and prosecuted in the same way that white working classes, who mostly vote Reform, if they vote at all, have been treated differently? Do you think that's a fair question to ask? To ask the question, why?
I think it's a very fair question. The way that I would like to come back with that. Firstly, people say you're suggesting that it's a Labour thing, right?
It is a Labour thing.
Okay, so people made these accusations before the Labour government was in. People have been making these accusations for like over a year, right?
No, they haven't. The riots only happened this year. We're talking about the riots.
Yeah. But the point of two-tier policing, that claim has been used.
Oh, that goes back decades.
Yeah.
Different groups have
So
accused her.
the two-tier policing
The
was
black
used
folk community
during the-
talk about two-tier
during the
policing.
previous during the previous government.
Well, you don't know him.
How
He's
do
the
you
second
suggest
best.
that the Labour government has in any way implemented this two-tier policing? Because it was something that was accused of the previous government as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, how has Labour government, given the separation of our judiciary to our legislature, how do you think the Labour government has done that?
Well, the separation between government and legislature is a porous separation. Sir Keir Starmer was the chief prosecutor in the judiciary. The chief prosecutor of the judiciary is now our Prime Minister.
And he cracked down very heavily in 2011.
Do you not think that he has back channels to talking to the judiciary? Do you not think he has back channels by which he can express his desire to the judiciary? Friends and allies that he has in the judiciary from his decades of service in the Crown prosecution, that when they hear the Prime Minister saying that these rioters will be dealt with a full force of the law, that his allies go, yes, boss, we hear you, we understand, and we will do exactly what you say. And again, is it not apparent to all that Muslim communities who mostly vote Labour were not policed in the same way as the white working class communities who voted Reform? This is why it's politicised.
Two questions, right?
Yeah.
So, firstly, just to clarify, so your suggestion is that Keir Starmer, as Prime Minister, within a month of getting in, was going around back channels to courts and speaking to people that he was previously in, that they need to unjustly treat the prisoners, the protesters during the summer. And secondly, do you not think that he had, given his past in 2011 and his previous instances, do you not think that the language that he's used this summer was the exact same? You can go back and check the tapes. It was the exact same language that he used during 2011. He said, we're going to keep the courts open all night, we're going to go after them hard, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. So do you not think it's not a thing about the fact that they're white working class, and it's the fact that they were protesters who burnt down hotels, burnt down communities, burnt down libraries? Because he did the exact same stuff, if not harsher, in 2011. When the Conservative government at the time was actually very close to him.
So it's all right, sister. So 1 second, right? The issue.
I'm not prepared for this debate. Sorry, I've not got.
Right, well, you wanted to get involved, bro.
I just wanted to make a point.
Well,
I've got all your different people jumping in on me.
Have
a conversation with him.
None of these, brother. The way to do it is just to focus on me if you want to talk to me.
I am, and
Right,
I've got
so
your sister
just
jumping
focus.
in on the side.
Just focus in on the conversation that we're having, right? So the result is focus on me. The focus is no. She's allowed a voice. I've been heckled.
Those you and me.
Well, I'm not interacting with her. I'm interacting with you.
I know, and I'm not interacting. So
well, there you go then.
Okay.
Thank you. There you go. That's how you do it at Speaker's Corner, right? So the point is, firstly, Sir Keir Starmer didn't make the policy in 2011. That was made by the government, and we can say that he's using that as a model for how he policed the riots that happened in 2024.
Okay.
But the point is, the reason why people are angry is because we see the duplicity of what occurred. We see the fact that Muslim mobs threatened violence against the police station in Manchester prior to the outbreak of the summer riots, what we're calling the summer riots, and they were policed differently based upon 2 police officers that were assaulted. We saw that in Leeds there has been no massive crackdown, and that preceded the summer riots. So what's happened is you've got all these working class communities who just saw a gypsy riot in Leeds, a Muslim riot in Manchester, not being policed, not being prosecuted, and they went, well, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. But then the government went, no, you can't do it. They can do it, but you can't do it. And as to double down on the fact that during the same summer riots, when an armed militia walked through the streets of an English city carrying knives and machetes, the police response was, not could you take them to the police station, but could you use the local mosque as an armory? Could you go and deposit your weapons at the local mosque? Everyone in this country is justified in being outraged at the duplicity and tyrannical use of power of our Labour government.
Go on, Bob.
Can I just go back to the point of how do you think that Keir Starmer, a month after getting into power, what are you, apart from he snuck out a number 10 and spoke to the judges behind everyone's back.
Which is what I'm not saying. That's what you said.
You said before that.
No, I said there were back channels.
Okay, back channels,
Yep.
back door.
Yep.
Okay. You're saying that he spoke to judges secretly.
No, I didn't say that. That's what you said.
You said back doors with
No,
judges.
that's what you said.
Okay, could you...
I have not said that.
You said as...
No, I haven't said that.
You said
No,
that he's-
stop trying to put words in my mouth.
Okay, so what did you say
Right,
then about
so here's the thing.
back channels with judges?
Sir Keir...
Gotta go soon, but
The Sir Keir Starmer, our tyrant-in-chief, was head of the Crown prosecution for years. You don't be the head of the Crown prosecution without having allies, without having work colleagues, without having rapport. So when the Prime Minister now suddenly says we're going to smash down on these reform voters,
What's he saying?
but he didn't say, I want that Muslim mob arrested. No, just these rioters, these white working class, non-Labour voting rioters should have the full force of the law upon them. Those who are in the judiciary, who have been allies of Sir Keir Starmer, go, yes, boss, we hear you loud and clear.
The allies in
And
the judiciary.
that's what is happening.
okay. That's crazy. So do you not think that in 2011 when he was...
He didn't,
in the court-
that was the policy of the government.
Yes, but you're saying that his actions as a judge and as a lawyer...
He wasn't a
reflect
judge,
on his-
he's Crown prosecutor.
Yeah, Crown prosecutor, apologies, wrong way, Crown prosecutor. Do you not think that his actions then, and the language that he used then... which
He
was
didn't
very-
use that language. It was used by the
back then-
Conservative
back then,
government.
It was very similar. His actions and the way that he speaks...
It wasn't his actions, it was the actions of the
At the time.
Conservative government.
At the time.
He isn't the hero.
But in 2011,
of
at
the,
that time...
no,
when
it
they cracked-
wasn't
can I
him,
finish
it was the
sentence?
Conservative
Can I
government.
finish the sentence? But the language that he used then during 2011, during the riots, in which they kept the courts open overnight, similar to what they've done now when they cracked down the riots. So those areas were from minority people, Labour voting constituencies in 2011 when that all happened. So why is that different? Because
At the time there was no
because they were from
comparison.
I'm not.
There is. They kept the
At the
courts
time
open.
there was no comparison. You're saying that now
that in 2011 riots,
You can
I'm saying
focus
there's a
on me.
very similar
the same
policy.
accountability as the people during these riots, okay? But what Bob is saying is that the people during these riots were not held to the same accountability as other people who rioted at this time.
At this time.
At that time, there was no comparison.
Yeah, there was no counter riots to the 2011 riots. There were no counter mobs. There were no groups walking through the streets with machetes in the 2011 riots. I'll be clear. Anyone who tried to burn down a hotel or use violence against the police needs to be prosecuted. Peter Lynch was not one of them. Peter Lynch did not use violence against the police. All he did is shout at the police. There are countless protests in England where people shout at the police. There are countless examples every Saturday. One second. There's countless examples every Saturday of pro-Hamas terrorist mobs walking through the streets of London and using violence against other people, against counter-protesters, against police. And they are not arrested. And that has been happening every Saturday since October the 7th. So we are right to say that there's two-tier policing. We're right to say that it is a captured judiciary. And why aren't the Muslim mobs who support Hamas terrorism being policed in the same way as the Patriots were policed yesterday? It's because most of those that are marching in support of terrorism and calling for the genocide of Jews will vote Labour at the next election.
One of the points you made, I've got to go after this debate, last point. One of the points that you made was that this is to do with Keir Starmer and Labour in government. But the so-called hate marches that were going on
What so-called hate marches?
So last year,
You mean the ones that are still happening now?
Yeah, in response to what's going on in Israel.
That are not policed by riot police, in which multiple people are attacked.
Buildings aren't being burnt down. No one's being killed. Like that.
But people are being attacked. No one was killed in the summer riots.
Just to finish,
except for the victims that sparked them off.
Okay, so these so-called hate riots that were happening, that you think haven't been policed,
they haven't.
Let's say they haven't. Let's say they completely let to do what they want. That happened during a Conservative government last year. So if that's the case during Conservative government, why? I think the point I'm trying to get at, what has Labour done to change that? Because your point is okay, right? So, but why have the Tories? Why is it a Labour thing? If they're the same thing.
That's a fair point.
Okay.
It's a fair point. No, it's a fair. It's a fair question. It's a fair question. It's a fair question, and it's a very fair point to the thesis. It's a counterfactual, so it should be addressed. The Conservative Party and the Labour Party follow the same ideology. They are ideologically the same. The only difference between our current Labour Party and our current Conservative Party is difference of management styles. Ideologically, they have the same worldview, and that's why they behaved in the same way. If the Conservatives had won the same election, the last election, I would not doubt that we would still see a two-tier judiciary and a two-tier policing. The problem is our entire elites, our entire ruling class of you, which you seem to be an apologist for, our entire elites, our entire ruling class are frightened, our entire elites, our entire ruling class are frightened of widespread civil unrest by the Muslim community, and so they let them get away literally with anything, including the rape of thousands of girls in the north of England. Yes, they do. Yes, they did. How long did those rapes go on for before they were finally tackled? You don't know.
I've got to go, but all right.
You don't know. Wait, you don't know about the child grooming that's gone on in the north of England.
I think a lot of
so you don't know about it.
I've heard about it, but a lot of the stuff has been proven over-exaggerated. More of the cases. If you look at.
Oh, so how many do you think were raped then? Hundreds, thousands?
I don't want to discuss numbers of people raped.
No, I do.
Okay, my point is.
I do. Hundreds or thousands.
Okay, Thousands, all right.
Thousands. How many does it have to be? Wait, one second. How many thousands does it have to be before it becomes a cover-up?
But I wouldn't say that.
Wait, how many thousands does it have to be before it's a cover-up?
I don't think there's a high proportion.
Let me give you an example.
But what you're, I don't think that there's a high proportion.
Let me talk with him, sir. Let me talk, sister.
I've got to go.
Right.
Just
all
last
right.
point. Last point. I do not believe that there is a higher proportion of Muslim people who rape people than white people. I do not. I've looked up articles.
The grooming gangs and those that are being arrested for them, you look at the list of names, a vast majority of those names are Muslim names.
I don't believe if you were to look up rape, paedophilia, all these sorts of things in the UK, if you were to get crime statistics up, it does not show there's a high proportion. You can look it up.
No, it does show it. One second.
There is not.
One second.
There is instances.
One second. It's the nature of the crime.
There is instances.
The way the crime was carried out.
Yeah, there is instances of grooming gangs. Some of them being Muslim.
You try to diminish it because it breaks your narrative.
I'm not diminishing it.
You are.
I'm saying
We're talking about the raping of thousands of girls, and for you, you're trying to diminish it like it's not a problem.
Of course, it's a terrible problem.
No, you don't sound like it's a terrible problem.
I think it's disgusting.
So why was it allowed to continue under Labour?
I don't think it was allowed to continue.
It was.
I don't think it was. But the point that you're making that a higher statistic of Muslim men have been rapists and paedophiles.
I didn't make that point. That's what you said. I didn't say that. I did not say that.
What you're suggesting is that the issue of grooming gangs. Yes, okay, we can all agree that that's a problem.
And
I think
the point is, the establishment, police officers, local councillors, and even social workers looked away.
I don't think that's
They even said that the reason why they looked away is because they didn't want to be accused of racism.
I know the example that you're using, and it's been proven that was not a.
Go on, bring out your proof then.
You were the one that
So it's just to making a claim.
You were the one that used the evidence.
Give me an example.
But you were the one that used.
You wanted examples. Give me an example.
You're the one making the claim. I'm saying that I don't think that's true. So I'm saying.
So
you're making a claim about evidence.
Right. I'll give you an example. You want an example? I'll give you an example.
Right, I'll listen to this.
I'll give you an example. He wants an example. Right? Decades ago, I remember watching an interview with Jack Straw on what's the Channel 2 news broadcast that comes on every week on Channel 2 late. It's News Night, and on that interview, Jack Straw tried to talk about the fact that Asian gangs were targeting white girls as easy meat. Jack Straw was pulled through the ringer. And this was years before Tommy Robinson's march in Rotherham, right? No, Jack Straw said Asian gangs, right? He was pulled through the ringer, and he was sanctioned by the Labour Party. He was sanctioned by his boss, Tony Blair. And the issue did not become a national story until Tommy Robinson took the EDL and marched through Rotherham, and that's when everyone started paying attention. And I come from the north of England, and let me tell an apologist for the elites. This crime is still going on. It is still happening. It has not been stopped, and it is still occurring because of Muslim, not Asian, grooming gangs.
I said I don't agree with the statistics. I've got to go.
All right, take care of yourself.
Sir,
you wanted to...
Before you go, have you enjoyed your debate with Bob?
It's been good, yeah.
I was assaulted on the bus.
Bye.
I don't know the man. He got on the bus.
Yeah.
He sat next to me. Started rubbing his hand. Then in his hand, all over my legs, and I was sitting next to him. And he followed me all the way home. And I had to stay on that bus because I was so frightened and I didn't know what to do. That's why I was going to say that. And then just 2 weeks ago I was on the bus ride. And man got on, I was listening to my radio on my mobile, checking anything. And he got on the bus and he turned around and said, "Put that fucking phone down," he said.
Yeah.
And he came right into my face and I was on my own.
I am so sorry you've had to go
And I
through those
came to the
experiences.
police next next day I thought, that man is not getting away with what he did because he must have come from here. Because he got on the bus there. And then what happened, I came to the police here, and the police said, we can't do nothing about it.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, this is and firstly, I'm really sorry that you've had to go through those experiences.
Yeah, but I'm just saying to him,
but
that is still going on here in London.
That wouldn't have been relevant to the argument that I was having with him, though. That is a tangent point.
I know, but you're debating saying that children are getting It's
an example of what I was talking about.
Yeah, but I'm the example, because that happened to me.
So
he followed me, 2 men, no one, at the bus stop, I was standing there.
Yeah.
And then I was shaking. I said, what do you want? And I was frightened of opening my mouth, telling someone what was going on.
When it comes to police inaction, it's a too common experience of the police just washing their hands of dealing with crimes that we've got in our country. We can point out to multiple examples here in this park. In 6 years that we've been here, there's been 4 murder either plots or murder attempts, of which, to my knowledge, only 2 of them have actually been dealt with by the police. It's too common an experience of what we're going through in England that the police, for whatever reason, just appear to us to have given up the art of policing. They come across to most of us as being more interested in policing our Twitter accounts than policing our streets. And like, how hard would it have been for the police to go to TfL and go, we want the camera footage connected to the bus that this lady was on? Why was that not their first instinct? Why was their first instinct to say, we can't do anything about this? I'm not even a police officer, and for me that's obvious. Like, we all know that there are cameras on buses. And so what we've got is an increasing disillusionment with the police and the judiciary in our country, because more and more people can see that these systems are not upholding justice. Now, guys, I'm going to move back a bit.
Was on the last conversation.
So the last debate, guys. I don't know what angle the brother's coming from, but he seems to take umbrage at the fact that some people are complaining about a 2-tier system, even though he acknowledged that we gave examples of unfairness. And I hope when he re-watches this debate, he realises that if he acknowledges that the system is acting unfairly, then it is right for people to complain about that unfairness. The fact that there has been previous unfairness or future unfairness doesn't invalidate the claim that it's unfair now, that we have an example of unfairness now to deal with, and that we should be dealing with it, nor the fact of the heavy suspicion that lots of people have that our political elites are just frightened to stand up to Muslim mobs because they seem to be scared of the wider repercussions of doing so.